The MBTI administration, it can be provided by consultants, counselors, coaches, and therapists. It is suggested that the administrator is certified. It will ensure that it is used in an ethical way by protecting the confidentiality of the person, verifying the type of personality, and giving feedback interactively. The MBTI can be administered individually or in a group format. The MBTI assessment can be administered online or in a paper with a paper and pencil. The online version of the test can be taken in MBTI Online. The MBTI Mayer-Briggs Company developed a format in which the individual can verify their type. The online version, because of the interactive format, is not necessary to have an in-person feedback, although it's recommended. What to expect? So the test is very intuitive. It is usually administered in the computerized format. The aim is to be available for the participant in case they have any questions. It should be clarified that it is not a test, that those are answers that should best fit the individual taking it. The idea is to normalize it with prompts such as there is no right or wrong answers, and to respond as natural as possible. For the M form, it has 93 forced choice questions. The idea is that the respondent chooses which of the two tendencies is the most natural. The participant should not take too much time to respond, just whichever answer is more intuitive and natural for the person. So there are currently 4 distinct forms of MBTI questionnaire. Each one is different in its use and scoring. So the form M has 93 items. This is a standard form of the MBTI assessment and scored with a 4-letter type. The one that we are explaining today. There is an online scoring and administration available by the publisher, and alternatively, there's also a paper version with a template for scoring available. The form M self-scoreable. This is a current standard M self-scoreable form, which is scored in a 4-letter type. Preference clarity indexes may also be calculated. The preference clarity indexes, which is like the scoring that you do, like it is hand scored by the individual taking the indicator or by the professional. The step 2 is used to generate a 4-letter type and scores on 20 facet scales with 5 facets in each of the 4 primary MBTI dichotomies. Facet results highlights the individual differences within type. Used in-depth individual feedback is needed. Coaching, counseling, executive development, relationships. Designed only for use in one of the counseling or coaching settings, shows the current ways of perception and judgment, insight becoming more effective in the natural use of development of their type. It has the particularity of going into more depth with the client. Conversation forum, a professional, it's emphasized as being an essential part of the assessment. For the administration, these are some questions. So you can see that these are some questions. So choose one that best describes you. So I'm going to read them out loud. You can choose and put your thumbs up if it does describe you. The scoring is usually done by computer, but I will be explaining the paper format for us to understand how it works. the scoring format has 4 columns with polarities at the top, and then on the side there are questions that have like 2 answers, and you have like the equivalent points for each of the answers. And so then you add up the points for each of the columns, depending like on each polarity, and then you add up the totals of the 2 polar opposites, and you get a total. And then you get percentages for each of the polar extremes. And after having the percentages, you select the one that's highest for your type, for it to select your type. And finally, well, now we're gonna talk about the feedback. So there is an online version. As I said, that due to the interactive format, it's not necessary to have the feedback in person. It has an integrated self-guided feedback system to help understand the accuracy of the results. Although it is suggested to have a follow-up meeting with a professional to understand the results, but it's not essential. There's also the possibility of having personal feedback. The MBTI can also include a service with personal feedback, which is usually provided by the Center of Applications of Psychological Type. The service begins with the online administration of the MBTI instrument, and then a highly experienced professional will assist with the interpretation of the results in an hour-long personalized session. There is also a version for children. There's a service. The service is built through the People's Stripes division of the CAPT. The services is for parents who would like their children to learn about their personality type. The instrument for the children is called the Murphy-Meissner Type Indicator, MMTIC, which is a self-report measure and was developed to measure the children's psychological preferences. Parents have a child take the MTIC with personal feedback, which integrated an hour-old consultation. So the MBTI Master Practitioner refer. The MBTI is a psychological instrument that is restricted and has specific educational requirements before an individual can purchase it or use it as an assessment. The individual will need a certification or be eligible. The program prepares the individual to professionally to ethically administer and interpret the results through the MBTI Master Practitioner Referral Network. It's possible for the clients to find certified practitioners in the area. It shows a list of professionals from the US and Canada, and it has their certification as a component of 40 hours of theory and 40 hours of practical training. Now I'm going to present the client case. So our client goes by the initials of MV. It's a 17-year-old teenager who identifies as a female, is currently in high school, belongs to a second-generation immigrant family from an Italian family. She's not currently in a relationship. Currently living with both parents, an older sister who is 20, and a younger brother who is 2. And her family has a traditional background. She describes herself as caring, quiet, observant, and present. She's not sure what she would like to do in the future, and there are several options in her range. She has considered marine biology, teaching, or graphic design. So comes to explore some personality traits which might help her decide what would suit her. For the interpretation, so the ISFP life in the present with a sense of joyfulness, Um, so her potential type is an ISFP, which lives in the present with a sense of joyfulness, wants to experience each moment, values the freedom and to have their own space, to schedule, to have freedom of their space and their schedule. They extend their sense of freedom towards others. They're faithful and fulfilling their obligations, guided by the very strong inner values, and want to live in a, to match these values. They want to work for more than just a job, to contribute for the people's well-being, and they don't really enjoy the routine, but they will work um, with energy and dedication when doing something they like. The ISFP are accurately aware of people around them and others. They learn more by doing than by reading or hearing, and often they have affinity for nature and beauty in living things. They care about people, but they show more through their actions than their words. They're quiet and unassuming with warm and playful humor, perceived as reserved, quiet, and hard to know well, under, underestimated by others, and they may also underrate themselves. If they have developed the feeling, they may not take the time in the internal valuing process. So this is just like an opener